Maya worked double shifts at the hospital cafeteria, barely making ends meet to pay for her mom's cancer treatment. She hadn't eaten all day when she saw a thin, pale child crying alone in the waiting room. Without hesitation, Maya gave her boxed lunch to the hungry child, even though her own stomach ached with emptiness. That evening, her boss cut her hours due to budget issues. 3 days later, a mysterious business card appeared in her locker with only 7 words: "You fed my grandson, I never forget kindness." She had no idea the simple meal she shared would connect her to one of the most powerful men in the country. Hi everyone, welcome to Mystic Tales. Let's get started. Maya's feet ached as she moved between tables in the hospital cafeteria. 6 years she had worked here, and the gray walls still felt just as cold. The lunch rush had just ended, and she wiped sweat from her forehead with her sleeve. "Maya, you're looking tired today," said Diane, her supervisor, stacking empty trays. "Mom's treatment was rough yesterday," Maya replied. "I was up most of the night with her. The cancer had come back 3 months ago. The bills piled higher each week. Maya's paycheck barely covered rent, let alone the treatments insurance wouldn't pay for. "You should eat something," Diane said, nodding toward the kitchen. "Carlos made extra pasta today." Maya smiled gratefully. She hadn't eaten since yesterday's dinner, a small bowl of instant noodles shared with her mother. Carlos, the cook, always looked out for the staff when he could. She took the small container of pasta and tucked it into her pocket for later. Her break wasn't for another hour, and hunger had become a familiar companion. The afternoon dragged on. Maya cleaned tables, restocked napkins, and helped elderly patients carry their trays. By 4 o'clock, her stomach growled so loudly that an old man looked up from his soup and smiled at her. "Sounds like someone needs lunch more than I do," he said kindly. Maya blushed and hurried away. Just 30 more minutes until her break. She could make it. As she rounded the corner toward the supply closet, she noticed a small boy sitting alone in the waiting area near the cafeteria. He couldn't be more than 7 or 8, with dark circles under his eyes and hospital socks visible beneath his jeans. He stared at a vending machine across the hall. Maya paused. Something about his expression reminded her of herself as a child, hungry and trying not to show it. She approached slowly. "Hey there," she said gently. "Are you waiting for someone?" The boy looked up, startled. "My dad went to talk to the doctors about Grandpa. He told me to wait here." Maya noticed how thin his wrists were, how his collar hung loose around his neck. "Have you had lunch?" The boy shook his head. "Dad forgot to bring money. He was in a hurry this morning." Maya thought of her own mother waiting at home, how she would need dinner tonight. But this child was hungry now. Without hesitation, she pulled the container from her pocket. "Here," she said, opening the lid to reveal the pasta. "It's still warm." The boy's eyes widened. "Really? For me?" "Really?" Maya smiled. "I already ate." The lie came easily. The boy took the container carefully, as if it might disappear. "Thank you," he whispered. Maya watched him eat for a moment, something warm spreading through her chest despite her empty stomach. She didn't notice the older man in the expensive suit watching from across the hall, his eyes moving between Maya and the boy. Later that evening, as Maya was clocking out, Diane approached with a serious expression. "I need to talk to you," she said. "Corporate is cutting hours again. I have to reduce your schedule to 3 days a week." Maya felt the floor tilt beneath her. "Diane, I can't. My mom's treatments." "I'm sorry," Diane said, genuinely pained. "It's out of my hands." Maya walked home in the rain, not bothering with an umbrella. How would she tell her mother? The medication alone cost more than she would now make in a month. As she climbed the stairs to their small apartment, she didn't regret giving away her lunch. Some things were worth more than food. But tonight, for the first time in years, she allowed herself to cry as she turned the key in the lock. The apartment was quiet when Maya entered. Her mother was asleep on the couch, a thin blanket pulled up to her chin. The TV played softly in the background, some game show where people won money for answering simple questions. Maya turned it off and sat on the edge of the coffee table. "Mom," she said, softly, touching her mother's shoulder. "I brought some soup from work." Her mother's eyes fluttered open. Once vibrant and full of life, they now looked sunken and tired. The chemo had taken so much from her. "You're a good girl," her mother whispered. "Always taking care of me." Maya swallowed the lump in her throat. She couldn't tell her about the reduced hours, not tonight. Instead, she helped her mother sit up and place the small container of soup in her hands. "Eat a little," Maya urged. "You need your strength." "What about you?" her mother asked. "I ate at work," Maya lied for the second time that day. After her mother finished half the soup, Maya helped her to bed. The apartment had only one bedroom, and Maya had insisted her mother take it. The couch had been Maya's bed for the past year. "Your father would be so proud of you," her mother said as Maya tucked her in. Maya nodded and kissed her forehead. Her father had died when she was 15, leaving them with little more than memories, and his old watch, which Maya kept in her pocket as a good luck charm. That night, Maya lay awake on the couch, calculating bills in her head. Even if she found a second job, how would she manage her mother's care? The hospital was 40 minutes away by bus. With reduced hours, she might lose their insurance altogether. Morning came too quickly. Maya, dressed in her uniform, left a note for her mother and headed to the hospital for her shift. The spring air felt crisp, but she barely noticed. Her mind was too full of worry. The cafeteria was busy as usual. Maya moved mechanically between tasks, her smile firmly in place despite her exhaustion. Around noon, she noticed something strange in her locker when she went to get her phone charger. A business card, plain white with black text. No company name, just 7 words. "You fed my grandson. I never forget kindness." Maya turned it over. Nothing on the back. She showed it to Diane during their break. "Weird," Diane said, examining it. "Maybe it's from the family of that kid you gave your lunch to." "How would they know which locker is mine?" Maya asked. Diane shrugged. "People have ways of finding things out, especially grateful parents." Maya tucked the card into her pocket next to her father's watch. It was strange, but she had bigger problems, like how to tell her mother about her reduced hours. The next day was Maya's day off. She spent it making calls to other hospitals and cafes, looking for part-time work. No one was hiring. By evening, her hope had faded to a dull ache in her chest. "We'll figure something out," her mother said when Maya finally told her the truth. "We always do." But Maya saw the fear in her eyes. The next treatment was scheduled for Monday, and they were already behind on payments. On her way to work Friday morning, Maya found herself looking for the boy she had given her lunch to. She wondered if he was still at the hospital, if his grandfather was doing better. Small kindnesses were sometimes all people had to give each other. She hoped he was okay. The cafeteria was unusually quiet that morning. Maya restocked the napkin dispensers and wiped down empty tables. Around 10, Diane approached with a strange expression. "There's someone asking for you," she said. "At table 12. Maya looked over. A man in a dark suit sat alone, his back straight, hands folded on the table. He was older, maybe in his 60s, with silver hair and glasses. "Who is he?" Maya asked. "No idea," Diane replied. "But he asked for you by name, said it was important." Maya smoothed her apron and walked over, her father's watch heavy in her pocket. The man looked up as she approached, his eyes sharp and assessing. "Maya Wilson?" he asked. "Yes," she replied cautiously. "Can I help you?" The man gestured to the chair across from him. "Please, sit down. My name is Robert Hammond. I believe you met my grandson Ethan earlier this week." Maya sat down slowly, her heart beating faster. "The little boy in the waiting area?" "Yes," Robert nodded. "He told me someone gave him lunch when he was hungry. He described you perfectly." Maya shifted uncomfortably. "It was nothing, really. Just some pasta." Robert studied her face. To you, perhaps. To him it meant everything. Ethan has been through a lot lately. His mother passed away last year, and now with my illness, his father is overwhelmed. I'm sorry to hear that, Maya said sincerely. Is your grandson still here at the hospital? No, we were discharged yesterday. I'm only here for a follow-up appointment. Robert paused. I saw what you did that day. I was waiting for my son to finish some paperwork. Not many people would give away their own meal. Maya looked down at her hands. Anyone would have done the same. No, Robert said firmly. They wouldn't. I've built my business watching how people behave when they think no one is looking. That's when true character shows. Maya pulled the business card from her pocket. Did you leave this in my locker? Robert smiled slightly. I did. I asked around about you. The staff here think very highly of you. Maya wasn't sure how to respond. It felt strange to be discussed by strangers. I understand you're caring for your mother, Robert continued. Cancer treatment, correct? Maya tensed. How did you know that? As I said, I asked about you, Robert's voice softened. I also know they've reduced your hours. That must be difficult. We're managing, Maya said stiffly. She didn't like the idea of her problems being known to this stranger, however well-intentioned he seemed. Robert nodded, respecting her privacy. I won't take much more of your time. I came here today to offer you a position at my company. Maya blinked. A position? What kind of company do you have? Hammond Industries. We're in medical technology. I started with nothing 40 years ago. Now we supply equipment to hospitals across the country, including this one. Maya had seen the name on some of the machines in the treatment rooms. Hammond Industries was huge. I don't understand, she said. I don't have any experience in that field. We need someone to manage our new employee cafeteria at the main office, Robert explained. The salary is 3 times what you make here, with full benefits. The insurance package alone would cover your mother's treatments completely. Maya felt dizzy. This couldn't be real. Mr. Hammond, I appreciate the offer, but why would you do this for me? You don't even know me. Robert leaned forward. When my wife was diagnosed with cancer 15 years ago, we had excellent care. The best doctors, the best treatments. She still died. Money couldn't save her. But your kindness to my grandson? That's something money can't buy. He slid a folder across the table. All the details are in here. The position starts next month, but we can advance your first paycheck immediately if you accept. Maya opened the folder with trembling hands. The salary figure made her breath catch. This would change everything. I don't know what to say, she whispered. Say you'll think about it, Robert replied. Talk to your mother. The offer stands regardless of your decision. Diane watched from across the room, curiosity written across her face. Maya closed the folder. I will think about it, she said. Thank you. Robert stood and extended his hand. Thank you, Maya, for reminding an old man what matters. After he left, Maya sat alone at the table, the folder clutched in her hands. Diane rushed over. What was that about? She asked. He looked important. Maya tried to find words. He offered me a job. A real job with benefits. What? Just like that? Diane's eyes widened. He's the grandfather of that boy I gave lunch to, Maya explained. He owns Hammond Industries. Diane gasped. Robert Hammond? Maya, he's not just rich, he's beyond rich. His company is worth billions. Maya looked down at the folder again. He said it was because of what I did for his grandson. Lunch, Diane marveled. One simple kindness? Maya finished her shift in a daze. On the bus ride home, she read through the folder 3 times. The position was real. The benefits package included comprehensive cancer coverage. There was even a housing allowance. When she arrived home, her mother was sitting up, working on a crossword puzzle. She looked up and immediately noticed Maya's expression. What happened? She asked. You look like you've seen a ghost. Maya sat beside her and took a deep breath. Mom, you won't believe who I met today. Maya's mother listened quietly as Maya explained everything. When she finished, her mother took the folder with shaking hands. "This can't be real," she whispered, scanning the documents. "People don't just offer jobs like this." "That's what I thought," Maya said. "But I looked up the company on the bus. Hammond Industries is legitimate. And the HR director called me while I was on my way home to confirm the offer." Her mother looked up, tears in her eyes. "Because you gave a hungry child your lunch?" Maya nodded. "Mr. Hammond said he values kindness. He lost his wife to cancer years ago, even with all his money. I think he sees something in our situation that reminds him of that time." Her mother reached for Maya's hand. "What are you going to do?" "I don't know," Maya admitted. "It seems too good to be true. But if it is real, it would change everything," her mother finished. That night, Maya couldn't sleep. The folder sat on the coffee table, its contents promising a future she had never dared to imagine. By morning, she had made her decision. She called the number Robert had provided. His assistant answered. "Mr. Hammond's office." "This is Maya Wilson. I'd like to speak with Mr. Hammond, please." "One moment, Miss Wilson." There was a brief pause before Robert's voice came on the line. "Maya, have you made a decision?" "Yes," Maya said, her voice steadier than she expected. "I'd like to accept your offer. But I need to understand why. A job like this, people work years to get such opportunities." Robert was quiet for a moment. "Do you know why I started Hammond Industries?" "No," Maya replied. "My wife and I lost our first child to a treatable illness. Because we couldn't afford proper care, I promised her I would build something that would help others avoid our pain. The company grew beyond my expectations, but I never forgot that promise." Maya listened, her throat tight. "When I saw you give your lunch to Ethan," Robert continued, "I recognized something. The same spirit that drove me all those years ago. I believe in investing in people like you, Maya. It's not charity. It's good business." His explanation made sense. It wasn't just about one lunch. It was about the character that action revealed. "I understand," Maya said, "and I'm grateful for the opportunity." "Excellent. My assistant will email you the paperwork. We can advance your first month's salary today. Would that help with your mother's treatment?" "Yes," Maya said, emotion making her voice crack. "That would help tremendously." "Consider it done. We'll see you at the office next Monday for orientation." After hanging up, Maya sat beside her mother on the couch and told her everything. "It's really happening," her mother said, squeezing Maya's hand. "You deserve this, sweetheart." Later that afternoon, Maya received an email confirmation and a bank transfer notification. The amount made her dizzy. It was more money than she had ever seen in her account. The next few days passed in a blur. Maya gave notice at the hospital cafeteria. Diane hugged her tightly. "You're going to do amazing things," she said. "Don't forget us little people." "Never," Maya promised. "I'll be back to visit." On Sunday evening, Maya helped her mother pack a small bag. They had an appointment with a specialist the next morning, one of the best oncologists in the city, covered by Maya's new insurance. "Are you nervous about tomorrow?" her mother asked as Maya folded a sweater. "About the doctor or the new job?" Maya asked. "Both, I guess." Maya considered the question. "A little, but mostly I feel hopeful for the first time in a long time." Her mother smiled. "Your father used to say that kindness always finds its way back to you." "He was right," Maya said, touching the watch in her pocket. That night, Maya received a text from an unknown number. It was a photo of Ethan, smiling, holding a handmade card that read, "Thank you, Miss Maya." Below the photo was a message. "Ethan wanted you to have this. He's excited to visit the cafeteria when it opens. Robert." Maya showed her mother the message. They both smiled through tears. "One small act," her mother marveled. "You never know how it might change everything." "I was just doing what was right," Maya said. "That's exactly why it matters," her mother replied. "Because you weren't doing it for a reward." As Maya prepared for bed, She looked around their small apartment. Soon, they would move somewhere closer to her new job, somewhere with better access to her mother's treatments. Somewhere with 2 bedrooms, so Maya could finally have her own space again. But despite its limitations, this place had been home. It had sheltered them through the hardest times. Maya silently thanked the walls that had witnessed their struggles and would now see the beginning of their new chapter. Monday morning arrived with gentle sunlight streaming through the blinds. Maya woke early, her new outfit already laid out, a simple blue blouse and black pants she had purchased over the weekend. Nothing fancy, but clean and professional. Her mother was already awake, sitting at their small kitchen table with a cup of tea. "Couldn't sleep?" Maya asked, joining her. "Too excited," her mother admitted, "for both of us." Their appointment with the specialist was at 9 a.m., and Maya's orientation at Hammond Industries would begin at 1 p.m., a day of new beginnings. They arrived at the medical center 30 minutes early. It was different from their usual hospital, quieter, with comfortable chairs and modern artwork on the walls. Maya helped her mother complete the paperwork, still amazed that the insurance card in her wallet was real. "Wilson," a nurse called, and they both stood. The doctor was a woman in her 50s, with kind eyes and a direct manner. She reviewed her mother's records thoroughly, asked detailed questions, and outlined a treatment plan that made sense. "With this approach, we have a much better chance of remission," she explained. "The previous treatments were good but limited by coverage constraints. Now we can be more aggressive." Maya's mother squeezed her hand. "When can we start?" "We can schedule your first treatment for Wednesday," the doctor said. "Any questions?" They had many, and the doctor answered each one patiently. When they left, Maya's mother had more color in her cheeks than she'd had in months. "Hope is powerful medicine," she said as they walked to the bus stop. Maya checked her watch, her father's watch. "I should get going soon. Will you be okay getting home?" "I'll be fine," her mother assured her. "This is your moment. Go shine." They hugged tightly before Maya boarded a different bus, heading downtown to the Hammond Industries headquarters. The building was tall, but not imposing. Glass and steel with the company logo displayed simply above the entrance. Inside, a receptionist greeted her warmly. "Mrs. Wilson, we've been expecting you. Mrs. Patel will be down shortly to begin your orientation." Maya sat in the lobby, taking deep breaths to calm her nerves. A woman in a crisp suit approached with a warm smile. "Maya, I'm Leila Patel, HR Director. Welcome to Hammond Industries." The orientation was thorough, but not overwhelming. Maya toured the building, met key staff members, and spent time in the cafeteria she would soon manage. It was 3 times the size of the hospital cafeteria, with modern equipment and a staff of 5. "Mr. Hammond believes a good meal makes for good work," Leila explained. "The cafeteria is important to our company culture." Near the end of the day, Leila led Maya to Robert's office on the top floor. The space was surprisingly modest, comfortable, but not ostentatious. Robert stood when they entered. "Maya, welcome," he said, gesturing to a chair. "How was your mother's appointment this morning?" "It went well," Maya said, touched that he remembered. "The doctor has a new treatment plan. She's optimistic." Robert nodded. "Dr. Sharma is excellent. I'm glad she's overseeing your mother's care." Maya realized he must have arranged the appointment himself. "Thank you for everything, Mr. Hammond. I don't know how to express my gratitude." "Your work will be thanks enough," Robert replied. "But there is something else I wanted to discuss." He opened a drawer and removed a folder. "We have a small apartment building for employees who relocate. There's a 2-bedroom unit available on the 3rd floor. It's close to both the office and your mother's treatment center." Maya stared at the photos he showed her. The apartment was simple but beautiful, with large windows and new appliances. "The rent is subsidized for employees," Robert continued. "It would be a fraction of market rate." "That's very generous," Maya said, her voice thick with emotion. "It's practical," Robert corrected gently. "Happy employees do better work, and your commute would be 10 minutes instead of an hour." As the meeting concluded, Robert walked Maya to the elevator. "My grandson asked about you this morning. He wants to know if you'll be making pasta in our cafeteria. Maya smiled. I'd be happy to, especially for him. He'll be pleased to hear that. Children remember kindness, Maya. It shapes who they become. On the bus ride home, Maya called her mother with the news about the apartment. They could move in as early as next week. It feels like a dream, her mother said. I keep thinking I'll wake up, Maya admitted. But it's real, Mom. Everything is changing. That evening, as they packed more of their belongings, Maya found an old photo album. Inside was a picture of her father in his work uniform, smiling proudly. Would be so proud of you, her mother said, looking over her shoulder. Maya touched the image gently. I hope so. I know so, her mother replied. You have his heart. That's what Robert Hammond saw in you, the same thing your father always had. Kindness without expectation of return. Maya closed the album, keeping the photo out. She would take it to her new office, a reminder of where she came from and why it mattered to remember those who needed help. One simple meal shared with a hungry child had changed everything, not because she expected anything in return, but because it was the right thing to do. In that moment of choice, Maya had revealed her true character, and someone had been watching. Loved this story? Tap that like button and subscribe to Mystic Tales for more. Let us know how this story made you feel with a single word in the comments.